Alright, welcome back. Today we are going to talk about exponent rules, which is another major pillar of Algebra 1. We talked about different pillars of Algebra 1, like one of the main ones was linear equations and writing equations of lines and sketching graphs of lines. The other major topic in Algebra 1 is in exponent rules, and I know you've looked at some of the exponent rules. So today will be kind of a review of those, and then we're going to introduce more formally negative exponents, and then simplifying problems that involve exponent rules. So the easiest exponent rule to deal with is the first rule, called the product rule. And you've done this one quite frequently. And all these rules apply to things that have the same base. So base to some power. So this is the base. This is the power. So what the product rule tells us is that if you have some base x to the mth power times x to the nth power, well, in that case you add the powers together. This becomes same base x, and then it is the m to the nth power. So for example, if you have x to the 5th times x squared, this becomes x to the 7th, 5 plus 2. Alright, so pretty straightforward. I think you've done several of those before with the different products. The other one is quotient rule. So quotient rule simply means, again, quotient means division. So if you have, for example, x to the mth power over x to the nth power, right? So you're dividing same base. You can rewrite this as x to the m minus n power. So, for example, if you have x to the 5th divided by x to the 2nd, well, this becomes x to the 3rd, 5 minus 2. The way I think of this particular power is, the reason it works out is, again, x to the 5th would mean x times x times x times x times x. X to the 2nd means x times x. So what you're really doing here is canceling out different x terms in the top and bottom. That cancels, and you're left over with x to the 3rd. Alright. We'll talk a little bit more later on in the lesson about a shortcut for this idea here for the quotient rule. Okay. The next rule that follows after the quotient rule, we'll call this rule number 3, is the power to power rule. And what that says to us is, if we have a base, let's say x to the m power, all of it to the nth, notice power, so we get another power, we multiply them. So it's x to the m times n. And going back to an example of x to the 5th power, quantity to the 2nd, or squared, this is x to the 10th. We're going to multiply the powers together. This is not the same as this deal here that we saw earlier. Notice this is power to a power. This is similar bases being multiplied, so product, power, product. Now this one you add in this example here. This is to the 2nd power. Okay. The fourth rule is power of a product. Oh, Street Sweeper Day. Alright, Tree Sweeper left. Power of a product says that we have x times y, all to the nth power. You can raise each of them individually. So the power goes to each of them inside the parentheses. So x to the nth power, y to the nth power. Alright, so for example, if you had 5x squared, all of it to the third power, this becomes 5 to the third power, x to the, now it's power to a power, so this also gets multiplied like that very rule that we were talking about up top here. So you're going to multiply those powers together, x to the sixth power, multiply that, power to a power. Right. And if you wanted to, well, 5 to the third, it's one of those numbers we should have popping out of our heads. 125 x to the sixth. Power of a product. The fifth rule that we're going to talk about today is the power of quotient. So, for example, you have a quotient of x, y, all raised to the nth power. You can raise each of the powers inside the fraction to the power on the outside. So, the top becomes x to the nth, the bottom is y to the nth. So, if you have, for example, something like 2x over 5 all to the second power, everything gets raised to the second power. So this is 2x on the top to the second power, 5 to the second power on the bottom. Everything gets raised to the second power. And then simplifying, well, this we knew from just a moment ago. Everything on the inside gets raised to the second power, so that's 2 squared x squared all over 5 squared. And if we simplify further, 2 squared is 4, x squared over 25. So, power of a quotient.